Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And you know what day it is? Yeah, that's right. It's the first Ask Me Anything of April 2017. And, well, why? Well, because it's Friday, and this just happens to be the first Friday of April 2017. And I only have one question this week, and it's actually a fairly short, easy, simple question, but it's one that I'm guessing a lot of people have probably thought to themselves, but have never actually asked. So the question is, Darryl, what is it with you and wombats? And I think this, question basically comes from the fact that I do refer to myself as the Wombat. And also, if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, and note I'm selective about who I actually add as friends on Facebook, but if you are a friend of mine or a friend of a friend, every now and then you might see some kind of post to where I'll make a reference to a wombat. And so the question came, I think it was spurred because of a comment that I made on somebody's Facebook thing about a wombat, and then a friend of mine said, Darryl, what is it with you and wombats? And I said, is that an AMA question? And the response was, it could be. I said, all right, then you'll find out Friday. And then there was a little back and forth, and nope, you'll find out on Friday. So, it's Friday, so I'm answering the question. What is it with me and wombats? Why do I call myself the Wombat and the Liberty Penguin? Well, I'll tell you. So, as you may know, I don't tell people what the W in Darryl W. Perry stands for. And I had a friend that was guessing, and I said, I'm not going to tell you. And she's like, is it Wallace? No. Is it Washington? Is it William? And just, naming all of the names that she can think of that started with a W. And then she said, I know, it's Wombat. And I just started laughing because it was absolutely ludicrous and insane. And she said, that's it. You're now Wombat. And so I've got a friend that calls me Wombat, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. Therefore, I am the Wombat. That's it. Like, it's not that I went to a zoo and had some kind of experience with Wombat. Although, speaking of, having experiences with animals, not those kinds of experiences that get your mind out of the gutter. When I was moving to New Hampshire just over 5 years ago, driving across Texas, across Louisiana, through Mississippi, up through Alabama, through the Carolinas, and, that way. So, yes, I kind of took a longer route than I necessarily needed to, but I had places that I could stay, either cheaply or free, and, that's always good when you're driving 2,100 miles. So I'm driving through Louisiana, and I see a sign that says, like alligator something, something, and I don't remember what town it was. Somewhere near Slidell is all I remember. Jennings, possibly, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I stop and I get breakfast at a Waffle House, and if you've never eaten breakfast at a Waffle House, it's absolutely amazing because there's nowhere else that you can go, and grits is an acceptable side with any dish. Doesn't matter. You want the quarter-pound hamburger? You want grits or fries? You want scrambled eggs and French toast? You want grits or hash browns? Well, how about both? All right. How you want the hash browns? Smothered, covered, sliced, chopped, and diced? And the people that have gone to Waffle House know exactly what all of those things mean. And I forget because it's been an incredibly long time. But definitely chunked. You have to get them, I think it's chunked, where it's chunks of ham in the hash browns. Chunked and covered because it's covered with cheese and there's chunks of ham. But anyway, driving across Louisiana, have breakfast at a Waffle House, see a sign for alligator thing, and I got to hold some baby alligators. So if it had, if the wombat thing had anything to do with like, oh, I got to pet a wombat one time. Nope, never seen a wombat at a zoo that I can ever recall. But yeah, baby alligators, really cool little things. Now, the problem with alligators is that when they wind up getting to be not babies, then they can kill you. Wombats, on the other hand, they stay tiny. Now, I do know that, there are some tiny animals that can wind up killing you. There was a video of a guy in Belarus, I think it was, that wound up getting bitten by a beaver. I want to say it was a beaver that attacked this guy. And, I'm laughing because it sounds ludicrous, but the guy did wind up dying because the beaver just bit the right blood vessel or the wrong blood vessel if you're the guy that got bit by the beaver. But I'll try to find the video and post that in the show notes. You can watch it at your leisure. And it's one of those videos, it's not a gruesome video because the guy that gets bit is holding the camera, but you see this beaver charge at him and he yells something in what I believe to be Russian. And I don't recall if there were subtitles or not. But yeah, so I've spent this entire first segment answering a rather simple question about wombats. And yeah, so that's what it is. I just got a friend that wanted to know what the W in Darryl W. Perry stood for. I refused to tell her, and so then she became convinced that the W stood for wombat. And again, that's why I am the Liberty Penguin and the Wombat. And there's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Stay tuned.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? Will anybody care? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. As mentioned, I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And before I shift gears, I want to make sure that I tell you about the wonderful people at Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. They've been around since 1977. So if you do the math, yep, that's 40 years. And during those 40 years, they've been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760. Or online at rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. Changing gears, I talk a lot about overthinking, right? I know that it's something that I do, and it's something that I've talked about. The overthinking is something that I do, and I know that I've talked about the overthinking to where I'll go back and analyze, and a lot of it has to do with where I'm trying to sort of make peace with the decision that I made or whatnot. I want to go back and let me replay all of the scenarios of how this could have gone different. And if I would have done this, then what would have happened? And then it's, like alternate history. But instead of what would happen if the United States never made the Louisiana Purchase? Instead of that kind of alternate history, it's, all right, what would have happened if I would have fill in the blank? And it's never something mundane of, what would have happened if I ordered a chicken sandwich instead of a steak sandwich? What would have happened if I would have, eaten this instead of that? Or if I would have, watched Superman 4 in the movie theater instead of waiting until it came out on VHS? It's never anything like that. It's always, like these big major things to where it's kind of like a life-changing event. But I overanalyze things. And I know that it's something that I do because, I've discussed it at length. But I've got an article that relates to overthinking, as well as another one explaining why sometimes we need to stop thinking. Starting with the overthinking first article, both of them come from lifehack.org. And they begin with, imagine this. You just sent a text to a person that you went out on a date with, and it said you had a great time, would love to hang out again. Then, 20 minutes later, the person replies with a smiley face. Only a smiley face, nothing more, nothing less. So, end parenthesis. You think, OMG, what does that mean? It's a smiley face. So that's good, right? That must mean that this person wants to see me again. But wait, they didn't actually say that. Maybe they don't really want to see me again and didn't want to hurt my feelings. So he or she thought it was easier to say nothing and just send a smiley face. But wait, maybe they're just busy and didn't have time to write anything, and they'll write again later. Maybe it's not a good time. But wait, if this person is really interested, they would have made time to write back, even if they're busy. But wait! ... It goes on and on. Does this sound like something that you do? If so, then you might be an overthinker. And here are 7 crazy things that you will be able to relate to. Overthinkers always make assumptions. And they begin here with a couple of scenarios. She rolled her eyes at me. She must think I'm stupid. He didn't text me back for 3 hours. He must be doing that on purpose. He's trying to blow me off. I haven't seen my friend Mary for 3 months. She's probably mad at me for not calling. These are assumptions. They're not necessarily based on truth, but an overthinker's mind makes all sorts of assumptions. That is part of the problem. Usually, making assumptions creates more problems and more overthinking. Then you get caught up in a nasty downward spiral. Instead of the overthinkers should live by the rule DNAA. Do not assume anything. Instead, ask people. Don't jump to conclusions. Speaking of assumptions, overthinkers will always assume the worst. Again, begins with a scenario. He was supposed to have been here by 5. It's now 5:12. OMG, what if he was killed in a car accident? I wonder who I should call to find out. What route was he driving? Let me go check the police and the traffic reports online to see if everything's okay. Oh no, that's ridiculous. He's only 12 minutes late. Maybe he just lost track of time. Maybe he didn't. OMG, what's wrong? Usually the worst doesn't happen. Sure, sometimes it does, but if you think about it, 99% of the time, the stuff we overthink and over-worry about doesn't actually come to pass. And I know right now, all of you are probably thinking about your mother. Not because I am a mind reader or that I have some sort of weird Simon Freud. Was it Simon Freud? The Freud guy. Now I'm curious about whether or not I've got the guy's name right. But you know who I'm talking about, the Freud guy. That he's like, everything goes back to your mother. But think about it. When you were a kid or a teenager and you were 5 minutes late, your mother, oh, the worst has happened. My baby, he's on the street corner. He's doing all kinds of drugs. It's absolutely horrible. And then, you walk in the door 2 minutes late. Oh, I'm so glad you're okay. I thought you had died. And everything's okay. So, yes, moms overthink. But it's not just moms that overthink. Sigmund. His name was Sigmund. Sigmund Freud is the guy I was thinking about. Who the hell is Simon Freud? I don't know, but there's more. Stay tuned. This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com.
Hey, this is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've been working with computer programmer Derek Slopey to create Fiend Phone. I'm using Fiend Phone right now to talk with and record one of my co-hosts in real time. Take it, Davi.
Hey, this is Davi Barker, and I'm 1,000 miles away from Michael, but we sound like we're in the same room.
We sure do, Davi. So, Davi, please tell the nice people more about Fiend Phone.
Fiend Phone is free, open-source software that opens up a global world of possibilities for collaborative, high-quality remote voice media production, and I'm digging it.
People can try the Windows beta version of Fiend Phone right now at fiendphone.com. But we're also raising money to vastly improve Fiend Phone and vastly improve independent talk media worldwide.
So go to fiendphone.com to help out. Who will build the audio roads? We will, with your help.
That's fiendphone.com. FEENPHONE.com. Foxtrot, Echo, November, phone.com.
Fiend Phone. I never knew remote audio could be this good.
This is Paige Peterson from Made Safe, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Now, that last segment is your proof. If you ever doubted that I actually do this live to tape, and yes, I know there's not actually tape involved, but I record this thing live. And if you've ever worried about that, of, well, maybe Darryl actually does go through and edit the things that he says, nope. The fact that I left in me calling Sigmund Freud Simon should be your evidence that I don't fix it in post. Continuing now with the 7 crazy things that overthinkers can relate to. Number 1 is we always make assumptions, and then those assumptions are always the worst. We always assume the worst. We always think in terms of what if. There are literally infinite what ifs that could occur, and we imagine every little teensy-tiny scenario. They drive us overthinkers crazy. We're afraid to make a mistake, so we think about all of the things that could happen. So we try to practice, or rather we should try practicing living in the now, because it is really all we can control. Speaking of control, overthinkers always stress that we can't control things. And I'm going to, for the rest of this, skip over the scenarios that they put of all the ways that people overthink in various ways. We can't control anything or anyone other than ourselves. Overthinking about how we can change things so that we can be happier or life will be better somehow just sends us into another crazy cycle of spinning our mental wheels. And overthinkers are frequently wrong because overthinkers imagine so many different possibilities and scenarios. Statistically speaking, we're often wrong with our assumptions. Because if we come up with 100 different possibilities in our head, there's going to be a 99% chance that we are wrong because only one of those could actually be right. So don't convince yourself that you were right or wrong most of the time. You will never know the truth with your own over-analyzing. And here's a little known fact about overthinkers. Yeah, we actually do wind up getting sick of our own analysis paralysis. You may have heard the term fight or flight. And there's another term that I've heard a good bit recently in a couple of different audiobooks. And when I say different audiobooks, I mean these two could not be more different. One of them was titled From Coping to Thriving, and the other was The Sports Gene, where it talked about genetics and, is there an athlete gene? And both of these books discussed the worrier and the warrior. And I think that's, sort of a different take on the fight or flight, or what some people call the fight or fright, to where you just, I don't know what to do, and just sort of freeze up. And that, the worrier, the person that worries a lot, they do wind up getting this analysis paralysis. Overthinkers say these things to themselves frequently of, I'll never figure it out. I just can't stop. My head hurts. I'm exhausted from thinking about this. Running things over in our minds over and over really does lead to exhaustion. Sometimes we really wish there was an off switch in our brains so that we can stop. When this happens, the overthinker needs to try thinking about something else or doing something else. It really can distract you and calm you down. And we seek other people's opinions to help us overthink or to help us stop overthinking. Because overthinkers get stuck in analysis paralysis, they often look outside of themselves for answers. They either get sick of themselves, exhausted, or the situation just becomes so cloudy from the overthinking that they can't think straight. It's during that times that overthinkers turn to other people to help them make decisions and even to calm them down. This is actually a good thing. It helps put some objectivity into our minds and or distract us from our own craziness. Overthinking isn't necessarily bad. It does say that we care, but it also says that we have complex minds. It shows that we know there are multiple scenarios that can play out in life, but the secret is to gain control over our minds so that it doesn't run out of control. Now, changing gears to reasons to just stop thinking. I'm skipping the intro here because of time, but as always, the link will be in the show notes. Number 1, don't think, listen. Listening is an incredibly underrated and rarely experienced state or action in today's society. People are working more hours now than throughout most of human history. Primal humans engaged in recreational socialization for roughly 6 hours every day. Sadly, we're seeing the effects of this. It's commonplace now to see restaurants packed to the brim from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. without a single person engaged in peaceful reflection. The catch here is not to think too much about when, where, or how to listen, but simply to listen. 4 more reasons to stop thinking here in the closing moments on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Going over 5 reasons to stop thinking. Number 1, don't think, listen. Number 2, don't think, feel. And I realize that, that's become a dirty word in the last couple of years, right? Oh, no, this person has feelings. This person is using feelings. They have feelings. They're letting emotions. Yeah, and? Emotions are natural. It's okay to have emotions. I realize we live in a society to where, as men, manly men, the only emotions that are appropriate for men are anger, and that's it. That is the only appropriate emotion that men are allowed to display in public. But, Phil, when is the last time you thought about what you want to do with your life over the next 2 to 5 years? Was it during your first job, when you were in college, maybe high school, a little before? Whenever you did your most recent deep contemplation about life, you may not have gotten the results you wanted. You may have accepted a job that hasn't truly fulfilled you, or perhaps you're still on the path to the job you want. Before you think too much about it, ask yourself, am I really feeling out what I want to do? This may sound like a foolish question on the surface, but in reality, the best results in life come from emotionally convicted decisions. It takes your gut to face your true feelings about your future and come out with a decision that you're set on. So do yourself a favor and feel your way through life's current questions. Number 3, don't think, observe. And I'm skipping the paragraphs here to go to number 4, don't think, rest before your next day. It's all too tempting to think about what you need to accomplish and in what order, but just rest. Because if you don't rest, you wind up getting sick and then you can't do. And number 5 on the list of 5 reasons to stop thinking, don't think, believe. Just like opinions, everyone has beliefs on various subjects. Some people have limited beliefs, others have empowering beliefs. Regardless of where you stand on a given spectrum, your beliefs shape the actions you will take. Don't forget, every Friday I answer your questions. Send those over ama@fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.